So to give you an idea of what's going on in the 1930s going into the 1940s. So we have a lot of the same technology that we still have, particularly the radio. And the radio is very key to this era because most people are still getting their news from it. Now we're also seeing the rise of the movies. Movies had been there in the 1930s, and people would spend, a few pennies every week or a nickel every week to go to the movies. It was a big deal. But the movies become more central to people's lives in the 1940s because of the newsreels. As war is starting to break out in Europe, people are really interested in what's going on in the world around them, and they rely upon the newsreels to see actual footage. Now, this is super important because prior to World War One, when people were talking about war, you really couldn't see what was happening. You might see an image, and that image was usually staged in the Civil War. World War One, there are newsreels, but the technology isn't the best, so it's going to be a little blurry. World War Two, though, you start to see war in a way that brings it home. It feels very real to you. And so the newsreels are becoming more and more part of people's everyday lives. And they will lead to when television becomes a big thing in the 50s, we are going to see the newsreels becoming the morning, afternoon, and evening news, taking the place of the radio news. Now, the movies are going to hold another importance in people's lives. They are going to be a number one spot for propaganda, and that's very important. Hollywood will work with the government to promote ideas of propaganda, either for the war, against the war, for certain policies that the government is coming up with, or certain policies that the government really doesn't want people to be talking about. And so the movies become a major factor in that role of the government and become extremely important. On the slide, I have the poster from the 1942 film Casablanca, which is considered today to be a major romantic epic. Okay, sure, fine, whatever. The film was actually made to promote the idea of U.S. intervention into the war. So the news is really, sorry, so movies are going to be a major part of the war machine, particularly propaganda. And that's going to be something that starts in the 30s but really picks up during the war years. Most films during the 40s are going to reflect the war effort in one way or another. And if they don't, they actually won't be allowed to be part of people's everyday lives. Like the censors will say, sorry, you can't distribute this film. So more and more people are getting their information from the movies in some form or another. They are engaging with and consuming a new type of media. That's really important for understanding how people's lives are starting to change during the war era.